What's good, people? Welcome back. Today's video is going to be on 4 ways that ADHD affects work life. Speaking from my experience, that is, obviously, because I am me. Firstly, just a quick thank you to everyone who has emailed again. I had several this week that have been really nice. A few just people wanting to know how I'm doing. So yeah, thanks for sending those through. Again, if you want to send any questions or messages, it's ollieedquestions@gmail.com. So the first way that I have found my ADHD affecting my work life is in building relationships with co-workers. Biggest reason for me being irritability. For instance, if I've got to work on like a joint project or something like that, irritability can be such a drain on the morale of everyone. And I've spoken about it before. It's something that I absolutely deal with all the time. Get very irritated with not being able to remember what I was going to say, not being able to express creative thoughts and opinions that I might have. And yeah, sometimes you can also appear quite intense when you're feeling really irritable as well. And then all of a sudden you might appear really distant, at least I do anyway. And yeah, it's just not very good when you're trying to collaborate on one big group project. Reason number 2 for ADHD affecting work life is forgetfulness. So the forgetfulness aspect of ADHD might be like, for me, it feels like a sort of overstimulated, distracted feeling that means that I then just don't pick up on things that I should have done. But when that comes to things like deadlines that you have to hit or meetings that you were supposed to attend that you forgot to attend, it means that other people have to pick up the slack. And that can be really frustrating, not only for the person that has to pick up the slack, but for you as well, because I personally wouldn't do it on purpose at all, but it is something that definitely happens to me. Number 3 is timekeeping, which is something that I am shit at. So yeah, if you're anything like me, you've got dreadful timekeeping. You're always late to things. I seem to feel as though I have more time than I actually have, and then when it comes down to when push comes to shove, the time's just disappeared. Might just be me. The timekeeping issue when it comes to ADHD might be part of what I said earlier in forgetfulness, in that you're very often distracted and you just don't realise what the time is. And obviously everyone's late to work like every now and then, and it does massively depend on the frequency of your lateness. And also I think it depends on if you've had the discussion with your boss to say that, yeah, I do have ADHD. It does mean that I'm distracted very frequently. There is a fair chance that I'll be late. I will just stay late at the end of the day. And if that's like a mutual agreement, then fair enough. But if you're late all the time and you haven't had this conversation, those are going to accumulate frustrations for your boss, and it could end up with you getting the chop when it could have been avoided. Number 4, and this one is a huge one, I think, and it's delayed gratification. People with ADHD, me included especially, suffer with the idea of working towards something in the future. A lot of the time we want to see instant reward for sort of the fruits of our labor, and that impulsivity that we often suffer with means that you don't want to have to work 1, 2, 3, 4 months or however long before you see any results. And this can be a massive issue when it comes to like a big work project, for instance. Depending on what you do, I'd imagine most jobs have fairly sizable projects that you could get involved with. And just about all of those are going to require loads and loads and loads of hours of input into that thing. And that means that you're going to have to remain focused for long periods of time, which can be super difficult for anyone, especially for people with ADHD though. And the idea of like I said, not seeing the results of the hours and hours that you've put in can be really disheartening, especially if you're not going to see it for years. But anyway, that is it for today's short video on how ADHD affects work life. Thank you all for commenting, subscribing, everything. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.